Planting in July gives you an extra round of your favorite warm season crops. And if you time it right, the best tomatoes of the year. Today, I'll tell you what to plant in July and how to be successful. I'm Angela from Growing in the Garden. My garden is in Mesa, Arizona. I want to help you succeed even if you're gardening in tough conditions. July is usually the hottest month of the year here in the low desert. The monsoons may bring moisture, or they might not. If you're going to plant in July in the low desert, you have to have the key essentials in place. That means you're planting the right crop at the right time, you have good soil, you have good watering practices, you're providing shade if it needs it, you're mulching. Each one of those things are essential if you want to be successful. July can be divided into two parts: early July and after the monsoon comes. And what you plant depends on what time of the month it is. Melons are a great choice for that first planting window. When you're selecting seeds, choose the shorter days to harvest. That's going to be essential for any of the crops that we talk about today. Although we're planting when we're hot, temperatures are going to get cooler and the days will get shorter. These crops need to come to maturity quickly. Cantaloupe is easy to start from seed. Don't be afraid to plant the seeds directly in the garden. Anytime you're planting seeds this month, plant them a little bit deeper. The soil is going to be a little bit cooler and they won't dry out as fast. Those seeds are going to sprout quickly in the warm soil. Some of the crops you planted earlier in the season may be slowing down, like Armenian cucumbers. It's not too late to plant a second round. If you haven't tried my favorite painted serpent Armenian cucumbers, you've got to give them a try. Heat-loving beans are another great choice for planting right now. What I love about these beans is you can harvest them at just about any time. Pick them really young and eat as green beans, harvest as tender butter beans, or leave them on the vine longer for dry beans. Any one of these heat-loving beans are also a good choice for a quick cover crop. There's still time to get one in to improve your soil for fall. If you're looking for another cover crop idea and you already have sweet potatoes growing, clip a few ends off of your sweet potatoes, remove those bottom leaves, stick them in a jar of water. They'll form roots within a few days. You can plant those in areas where you would like to cover the soil and you're not quite ready to plant. You probably won't get sweet potatoes from these, but it's an excellent way to cover the soil and keep it alive while it's hot. You can also plant amaranth this month, and if you'd like, there's plenty of time to get another round of basil in. There are so many different varieties. I have the best luck starting these from seed indoors and then transplanting them outside when they're pretty young. I'm growing lots of varieties this year. Try a few and see which ones you like. If you'd like to try planting corn, you can plant it right now. Dedicate at least a 4x8 bed to just corn and plant it densely within the bed. This will help with pollination. When you're selecting seeds, choose the shortest days to harvest. It's too late to plant a pumpkin for Halloween, but you might get one for a Thanksgiving pumpkin pie. Again, look for the shortest days to harvest. So check your seed packets and find the shortest days. This one's 100. This one is 110. This one is 10. It's probably a misprint, but it might be a magic pumpkin. It's also a good time to plant other winter and summer squash. Here are some guidelines when you are looking for seeds. For summer squash, choose varieties with a 55-day or less days to harvest. For winter squash, keeping that day under 90 will ensure that you get a successful harvest. So here's everything you can plant right now. Now let's talk about after the monsoons. If we get monsoon moisture, it's tomato time. My best and most productive tomatoes of the year are the monsoon planted tomatoes. Starting new plants each season is the best way to deal with the common diseases that affect tomatoes. Pick a new location, and even though it's hot, you want to look for the warmest spot in your yard. A warm location will be tricky now because you're going to provide extra shade and watering. But when temperatures start to cool, they'll love the extra warmth that that location provides. Smaller tomatoes will have a shorter days to harvest, and you'll be the most successful with those types of tomatoes. The extra monsoon moisture also means it's time to plant peppers. Getting them established now will help those roots grow deep, and you're going to have a great harvest in the fall. You can also plant eggplants, ground cherries, and tomatillos, all from transplant. Remember, if we don't get added moisture from monsoons, it's best to wait to plant all of these until early August. Now let's talk about the flowers we can plant this month. Vinca and Angelonia are two tough summer flowers. You can plant them now and they will bloom all the way through fall. In fact, these plants will often perennialize, which means that they'll grow year-round here, except if we get freezing temperatures, you'll have to cover them. Portulaca is another good choice if you're looking for a hardy plant that withstands the summer heat. This plant does well in a rock garden or in the landscape, and again, this can also last a long time. If you'd rather plant from seed, try zinnias, sunflowers, and sulfur cosmos. Starting seeds indoors is a great way to beat the July heat and get a head start on fall planting. When you start your own seeds, you have a lot more control about when you plant. You also have a huge selection and variety of plants to choose from. When I start seeds in the winter, I would have a heat mat under here to make sure it's warm enough, but in the summer, I don't use a heat mat. It's plenty warm inside. July is a great time to start these warm season crops like tomatoes and peppers and basil indoors. You can also do things like eggplants, tomatillos, cucumbers, and cucamelon. It's also a good time to start slow-growing cool season crops like parsley, Brussels sprouts, and celery. You also start seeds for many of the cool season hardy annual flowers in July. Things like verbena and snapdragons that need to get planted and established in the fall. Here are all the other flowers that you can start indoors in July. All of these planting lists and the calendars are available on my website, growinginthegarden.com. So whether you want to garden inside or outside, there are plenty of options for July. If you would like to learn more, consider joining Growing in the Garden Academy. I teach a live online course every month about seasonal topics, and members have access to recordings of all past classes. Academy members also receive my garden journal, what I'm planting, harvesting, and doing in my garden, delivered to their inbox every 2 weeks. I hope to see you there.